that happiness advantage, that looking, at the higher picture. And I've always said, I have never ever had the rug pulled out from under me that I have not landed on higher ground. When we understand that, when we feel like people, places, and things have absolutely moved out of our life, it's because on the horizon there is a greater realization of people, places, and things at a higher level. That has been my personal experience. So as we look at the heart and brain of happiness, in the happiness advantage, I'm reminded of the words of Jesus the Christ, who is one of the greatest metaphysicians and psychologists that ever lived, along with Buddha, who talked about the heart of compassion, about the energy of love. Jesus said, "It is done unto you as you believe in your heart. For where your treasure is, there your heart will be also." It is not done unto us as we believe hypothetically. It is not done unto us as we believe theoretically. It is done unto us as we believe in our heart, the feeling center, the doorway to the soul. And I am reminded of a beautiful story. It's by a naturalist who said that he went to visit a farm. And he said, I visited this farm and I looked out and it was just so beautiful and the energy of nature. And I looked into the chicken yard and I saw the chickens busily doing their thing. And then I saw a larger bird. And I looked in and I saw it was an eagle scratching around with the chickens. And I said to the farmer, "What is that eagle doing in the chicken pen, scratching around with the chickens?" And the farmer said, "Well, it's like this. Something happened to his mother, and he was like this little foundling, and we just brought him in with the chickens, and the mother hens nurtured him. By golly, he thinks he's a chicken." And the naturalist was just stunned. He said, "This is an eagle. This is the king of the skies. Do you mind if I work with him?" Like any good naturalist would do. "I'm going to work with this eagle." So he said, "No, do what you can." So he scooped him up in his arms and he climbed this nearby hill. And he looked at him and he said, "You are an eagle. You belong to the skies. Stretch forth your wings and fly." The eagle tremored and sort of flapped the wings a bit and then looked down in the chicken yard and jumped down right back in with the chickens. So the naturalist was not easily dismayed. The next day he went in and scooped the eagle up, took him up on a little higher hill and said, "You are an eagle. You belong to the skies. You are king of the skies. Stretch forth your wings and fly." And the eagle tremored some more and shook, and his wings flapped a bit. And then he looked back down. He saw the chickens in the chicken yard. Went right back in with the chickens. Because after all, this was the known way. On the third day, the naturalist, not to be daunted, went to a nearby mountain and he took the eagle in his hands and he said, "You are the king of the skies. You belong to the earth and the sky. Stretch forth your wings and fly." The eagle tremored, shook and flapped its wings and began flapping and began going up a little higher, and a little higher until it was out of view. It got, at that moment, who it was. It was an eagle. It belonged to the earth and to the skies. It stretched forth its wings to fly to the next level. So when we talk about the heart and the brain of happiness, and actually the chapter in the happiness advantage is the brain of happiness. But I added the heart because they partner. And if you've heard of Heart Math in Northern California, which I talk a lot about because they've done so many experiments. And Tom Shadyac, who is an award-winning director, who directed, Ace Ventura, he, won awards for many, many things. Liar, liar, all the things that he did. He said, I did comedies and I won awards, and I found myself in very different economic position with a lot of money, and found myself buying a house in the hills of Beverly, and then in New York, and then over here to this foreign country. And what I got was, when I sat down in my home in Beverly Hills, I was no happier. I was no happier. It didn't, I didn't have this great elation like I thought I was going to have. And here I was renowned, and I had won all these awards. And something happened. I was riding my bicycle down a steep hill, and I crashed. I broke my arm, and I had a concussion, and I went into post-traumatic concussion. It's a syndrome. And he said, I went into a deep depression. I couldn't snap myself out of it. And I even contemplated death. And when I contemplated death, I began to get better. Suddenly, all of the symptoms left me, and I thought, I am going to create a documentary, which he did, called I Am. And it stems from G.K. Chesterton when he was written by, it was a London group of journalists asking, what are all the problems here in our world? And G.K., Lord Chesterton, wrote, I am. I am. And he said that was such a revelation for so many, because we're not only part of the problem, we're also the solution. That the sacred I am presence that lives within each of us arises through conditions, appearances of facts, problems, all the stuff that goes on in our world. It goes through all of that. And so he got it, that he was to do something differently, and he interviewed many, many authors and people that were specializing in the art of making it a better world. And he asked each person that he interviewed, Desmond Tutu from South Africa, scientists, you name it. And he said, have you ever heard of Ace Ventura? They go, let me think, Ace Ventura. No, never have. And he said he just interviewed, and he goes, it doesn't matter. And he'd go on with the interview. And finally he came around, he interviewed Lynn McTaggart, who wrote The Field, and said, you ever heard of Ace Ventura? She goes, oh, are you kidding? My children they love Ace Ventura, just part of our family. It has Hallelujah playing. He plays Hallelujah, gives her a big hug, and says, this was my life. This was my former life. I'm doing this documentary so that I not only transform, but others can see the values, because things are great. They're a means of exchange. They're fun. But the excess is what we're talking about. The excess, that we feel that we're going to fill the hole in the soul with stuff. And we don't feel any better or any happier. And he went to talk to his father, who started St. Jude Hospital with Danny Thomas. And he talked to him and he said, what do you think about all of this? And he said, I think that when I go to Mass on Sunday and the priest asks us to shake hands and hug with the person next to us, and he said, he said, everyone goes to Mass. We have all colors and all races and all creeds that come to Mass many times. He said, and to feel that feeling of oneness, and I don't feel it again until I go back the following Sunday. And I thought to myself as I was listening to this interview, these principles that we teach in our way of life is so that when you go out this door, that you can access these universal principles of life, so that when you come into situations, that you can begin to use them, to realize that yes, love is the strongest healing power in the universe. There are going to be those that are not receptive. Bless them on their way. Release them with love, because we are not in this world to live up to each other's expectations. I am I and you are you, and if by chance we find each other, it's beautiful. And if not, it can't be helped, because it's all about energy. It doesn't mean we condemn anybody. We just don't run after them trying to make new friends out of people that don't vibrate at the same frequency as we do, because I believe with Ernest Holmes, love them and let them alone. Sean Acor in his book said that they did a study with doctors, and they gave them tests, and they put a piece of candy at each desk on one group, and another group they didn't. The piece of candy that they put at the desk of the one group, they soared, Just seeing something sweet on the desk ignited the serotonin in the brain, and it became happier. When we make the longest journey on the planet, the 18-inch journey from the head to the heart, and Buddha said the heart of compassion, something begins to shift. And what happens in our society and in our personal lives, we get deluged. We start judging it. We start giving our power away to it. We've got to stand in our power circle, as the ancients said. Do not bleed energy to the right or to the left. Stand in one's power. Stand in one's energy, because we are not to be down in the chicken yard, scratching. We're to be soaring, realizing who we are, that we are created in the image and likeness of God, that it is not only good, it's what? It's very good, we're told. That's a good thing. I am created in the image and likeness of God. Whatever I conceive my God to be, to walk out into nature and to feel the energy of nature, to realize that divine connection. When I was at this women's conference, it was the Women's Festival in Santa Barbara, one woman said, I was so unhappy. I was 49, I wasn't married, and I didn't have any children. And then one day I went to the inner city. There was someone that didn't have parents. I adopted her. I realized I didn't have to be married to have children. And I began this amazing life of working with children. And the child within me that was always there, that I ignored, and thinking I had to have it look a certain way. See, when we think we have to have it a certain way, we give our power away. We give our happiness away. We give it away. One child was walking along the beach happily singing and just so happy to be on the beach, and it was a beach where all of the starfish, they come up on the shores, and it was taking starfish and throwing them back out into the ocean and out in the ocean. One old man came by and said, look at all these thousands of starfish. What difference does that make? And he just gleefully picked up a starfish and threw it out into the ocean and said, it made all the difference in the world to that starfish. So what one person can do, that if everyone, each day, that we go within and realize, yes, we have life that comes up, and how many times have we been told, well, be realistic? That means, well, be negative. Be negative and really look at how things are. You know what? Those are facts. They are not spiritual realities. Those are the facts. Facts can be shifted and changed. So to me, the real world is within, not out there. When they say, well, in the real world. That's not the real world. The real world is within us, the secret place of the Most High. And in the Happiness Advantage, Sean said, after my lecture, I was taken to the airport, and the guy that drove didn't put a seatbelt on, and he said, where's your seatbelt? Why aren't you putting it on? He goes, I listened to your lecture. I don't need it now. He said, well, let me tell you, you do. Not only is it the law, right? But this is not something that you think you don't have to use wisdom. It's something that you incorporate in your daily life. That you know, and besides that, it is the law, right? You know that you're protected, but we also use wisdom. And in using wisdom, the Happiness Advantage allows us to move forward without the encumbrances of the negativity and the way that things are going on in the world, because that's not the reality that we need to live by. We live with that knowingness that we are created in the image and likeness of God, that you really are as close to God as I am ever going to get. And I am as close to God as you are ever going to get. And that as we accept and learn and grow, that something greater than that arises, the synergistic mind of God in this very room, where we recognize the whole is greater than the sum of its parts, energetically in community. And as we begin to realize that, yes, just putting a little sweet on the desk or having it wherever lifts energetically the serotonin in our brain, it also connects us to our heart. Desmond Tutu, and I was in South Africa speaking in 1986, and it was interesting. I had a proclamation for the mayor, from my mayor in San Diego, for Cape Town, and I gave him this proclamation, and I extended my hand, and he said, oh, no, 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 I want to cuddle. I said, oh, in our country we call it a hug. So I gave him a hug. And he invited me to dinner, and I said I'd like to bring my colleagues, which they came as well. And I said, I want to talk about apartheid. And he said, it's very complicated. And I said, why is it complicated? He said, well, we're working on it. And it was very interesting to be in South Africa in 1986 and to experience that. And this is Black History Month, where Martin Luther King said, I have a dream. And his dream was of oneness. And that this is what, we have taught this forever. These are universal truths. This is ancient truth applied to our daily life, which is our temple and our religion. That when I begin to lift my thoughts and be grateful for what I have, the 3 gratitudes, to come up every day with 3 different things that we're grateful for, according to this book. And I thought that's kind of interesting because it's challenging because we're kind of grateful for the same things every day. And I thought, well, running a nonprofit, I'm grateful for that because it makes me go deeper inside myself for a faith that I didn't even know existed within me. And as I come up with the different things for gratitude, for my body, for this temple that allows me to live and move and have my being in the world, that something else expands, there's more energy. So the 3 gratitudes, and I absolutely challenge each of us just this week, each day to come up with 3 different gratitudes, the 3 gratitudes that we're grateful for, and lift our energy to the happiness advantage, realizing today we're going to make the longest journey on the planet, the 18-inch journey from the head to the heart being the doorway to the soul. And as we open our hearts and we acknowledge that, yes, it is done unto us as we believe in this feeling center, that we're going to see through the appearances, the conditions, and the effects of life to a place that perhaps we've never quite gone before. Because each and every one of us, we're the eagle. It's time to get out of the chicken yard, don't you agree? Yes. Time to get out of the chicken yard, stop scratching around, and get to that place where we can extend our wings and fly like we've never flown before, because guess what? We are going higher yet. Where are we going? Higher yet. Where? Higher yet. And so it is. God bless you.